Alright, peace be upon you, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Now, in today's video, I'm going to be exposing Ali Dawa for the dishonest, slimy scumbag that he is, and he displayed this for everybody to see in his recent debate with Brother MFG, and I just want to quickly preface this video by saying, listen guys, I don't want drama. I don't want to talk about these people. I know they're doomed. They're on their way to hell. They're fighting against true God alone, Quran alone, Islam. God alone is not enough for them. That's why God's word is not alone. It is not enough for them alone. They need to make partners with God. That's why they make partners with his words, Quran and Hadith. I don't like to deal with these people, but I see my brother, he's out there on the front lines fighting against these people, exposing them for who they are, and I just want to put in some backup and support. As much as I hate talking about them and dealing with them, and I have much more important things to speak about. I want to enrich you guys, talk about God, purification, living a righteous and godly life, but I'm going to be there right behind my brother, helping him out and exposing these people and maybe highlighting some things that Brother MFG wasn't able to point out in that debate. So in this discussion, I'm not even going to analyze the arguments here, okay? Because it's so crystal clear that they were not dealing with Brother MFG's points. He was making it plainly obvious he believes the Quran was written down, or that the Prophet wrote it down. And they just didn't like his answer, and they weren't working with his answer. And the way this entire discussion was set up, it was set up as an interrogation and not a real honest exchange of ideas. But I'm not even going to get into all that. We're not even going to get into the arguments. I just want to show you clear proof that Ali Dawa is a liar. And he said something, he did a little Freudian slip. He spoke too honestly for a moment in his emotions, which shows this, it exposed that he has been running away from Quran aloners this entire time. He spoke a little too openly in it. I shouldn't say honestly, but he spoke a little too openly in his emotions when he got excited. He felt like in a short moment he had MFG in a little bit of a headlock, and he started gloating. And you will see these types of kafirin, mushrikeen people, that God uses their own arrogance to expose themselves, their own lying and hypocritical tongues. So what did Ali Dawa say that pretty much should end his career and any honesty and integrity he has? So, or any thought that we should have in our mind if he's honest or he has integrity. He said these words, and I quote to Brother MFG multiple times. He said, now because of me debating you, because allegedly MFG did such a bad job debating him, which is not true at all. He wiped the floor with them. But because he did such a bad job debating them, now Ali Dawa has all the confidence he needs to deal with Quran aloners. He's now confident to debate with Quran aloners. Let's pull up the verses. Or not the verses, sorry. Let's pull up the timestamps just so you can get some receipts on it. So the 38-minute mark. So 38-minute mark, he says this.
No, I'm telling you, I said it a million times that the Prophet wrote it down.
I ask Allah to guide you, give me confidence for debating Quran.
What was that, Ali Dawa? Repeat that again.
I ask Allah to guide you, give me confidence for debating Quran.
I ask Allah to guide you because you gave me confidence to debate Quran. You gave me confidence to debate Quran. Let me put that on one more time. He's trying to mock MFG and take the piss out of him in that moment, but he exposed himself.
I ask Allah to guide you, give me confidence for debating Quran.
Okay, and just to see whether he meant that or not, he says it multiple times in this debate. Let's go to 28:20.
From the cookie jar. Quarterman. Okay, now, I'm asking a simple question.
As you want.
The Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends wahi to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. I'm going to ask you this for the last time. Sheikh, you know what? From now on I can debate Quranists. I'm confident. Because he's the one of the, if I, I'm not trying to sound arrogant. Muhammad, listen.
Okay, you are now confident to debate Quran aloners ever since talking to MFG, and you are happy that he spoke to you because now, as of a few hours, confident to debate Quranists. Okay, alright. So all I have to ask you, Mr. Ali Dawa, is you weren't confident to debate Quran alone believers before, but now you're confident? Hold on a second, then what's all this about? channel, Ali Dawa. Ali Dawa. What's all this about right here? Honest, confident Muslim versus insecure Quranist. Confident Muslim versus insecure Quran. You just said that a couple of hours ago when you spoke to MFG for the first time that you got your confidence to debate Quran aloners. So then what's all this about? You debating Quranists, you debunking Quranists, you're on these live streams debunking Quranists. Hold on a second. So you're telling me that you were debating for a position that you weren't fully confident in because you just got confident now. You literally just admitted to us that you've been running away from Quran aloners the entire time. I've been challenging you to a debate. Brother MFG has been challenging you to a debate. Brother Baba Shuaib has been challenging you to a debate. You've been running away this entire time because now you have the confidence to debate us Quran aloners. So then again, what's up with all these multiple videos beforehand of you allegedly debunking us? Isn't that disingenuous? What about when you showed all your confidence in those previous discussions? Was that real confident Muslim versus insecure Quranist? Who's really the insecure one? Or were you just performing, doing a little performance for the camera and being disingenuous? You see how in his own arrogance and stupidity, he admitted he's been running from Quran aloners? In his attempt to try to mock Brother MFG, he exposed his own hand. He's been cowering from a debate. So you see that. You see how God allows these people with their own tongues to incriminate themselves. And don't tell me he was just joking around. No. He said it multiple times in that debate that now he's confident. So you weren't before. But then why were you standing up so strongly for the Sunni Hadith position before if only now you have the confidence to deal with Quran aloners? Ah, I see. You've been running away for the last while. And you just felt like in that moment, like I said, you got a little headlock on MFG. You didn't actually, but you felt like it. And now you're going to capitalize on it and mock him. And you see, he's trying to get the sheikh to laugh at him and this, that, and the other. This is just a debacle. And ladies and gentlemen, Ali Dawa basically just admitted he's a grifter. That is by definition a grifter. A grifter is somebody who peddles opinions and ideas for personal, social, political, financial gain that they don't actually believe in. So he has been debating for the Sunni Hadith position for years now while not confident in it until this day. Then suddenly he became confident. That is a grifter by definition. Let's pull it up. Grifter definition. Yeah, right here. This is really what I'm looking for. A shill or a grifter is a person who disingenuously sells a product or an idea. So they don't actually believe in the things that they're saying. He didn't believe in the Sunni Hadith position that it was confident enough to hold up against Quran aloners, but he has been shilling and selling it for the last who knows how many years. So that's your top Dawah guy right there. You got Ali Dawah the grifter and Muhammad Hijab the childish mental meltdown crybully. This is what you get when you have Quran aloners confronting these hadiths. This is all they're reduced to in the end. So that's the first lie. This is on Ali Dawah's record. And, we just got to ask ourselves, why, if they're so confident in their position, why do they have to do this? The next thing I want to bring up is not a lie on his record, although he colluded in it, but this is a lie on that arrogant douchebag sheikh's record. Let's go to 20 minutes and 30-second mark.
Let me finish the point. Okay. What I'm saying is that God knew that the people will be working in the way of God, as God clearly states in the Quran. Okay. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. He didn't say وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْحَدِيثِ لِلذِّكْرِ. Now, I want to take you to a very simple thing. Very simple, easy thing. If you're claiming that...
What was that? Wallahi, he doesn't know Arabic?
Now, I want to take you to a very simple thing. Very simple, easy thing. If you're claiming that...
And you're going to see Ali Dawah here, he's going to collude with him. He's going to nod and give him an agreeing, an approval. Look at this.
Now, I want to take you
So, wallahi, he doesn't know Arabic?
To a very simple thing. Very simple, easy thing. If you're claiming that... If it's...
Yeah.
Okay,
I know.
If
I
we
know
go
he's
to
not qualified. Firstly, it's utterly ridiculous to say that he doesn't know Arabic because he literally is having a full debate with that Arab sheikh guy in Arabic and he has to translate it. A debate with the the Shamsi in Arabic. And it's just ridiculous to say he doesn't know Arabic. But my point is this. So he doesn't know Arabic, allegedly. And the import of this, the implication is that he is unqualified.
A very simple verse.
Oh, sorry. He's unqualified to speak on matters of the Quran. Okay. Well, then here's a dishonesty from that sheikh. If he's unqualified to speak on because he doesn't know Arabic, then why are you supporting Mr. Ali Dawa, who also does not speak Arabic? He's a Kurd. He's a Kurdish man. Arabic is not his native language. Yeah, he can read Quranic Arabic, but he can't speak it. Whereas this man right here, he's able to speak it. So Ali Dawa is qualified to give Dawa, but he's not because he doesn't know Arabic and he does. That is dishonest. That's a double standard, and they're all aware of this. See, the moment you begin attacking the person and not their arguments, you've lost a debate, because if you were able to attack their points, then you would definitely come after those. But now they're just attacking him. You can say, now they're saying, oh, he doesn't know Arabic, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. You've lost the debate. It's done. It's khatam. It's finished. At this point, it's nothing but bakwas coming from their end. Look at this, okay? Even if MFG, let's say this is the first time he's ever seen an Arabic letter in his life. He doesn't know a lick of Arabic. It still doesn't make what he's saying right or wrong. What he's saying is right or wrong independent of what he may know or not know. That's why an ad hominem is a fallacy. It's not a logical argument. If he's saying something is true, it's true whether he knows Arabic or not. And again, if you're going to be consistent, you're going to have to disqualify the sheikh. He shouldn't be colluding with Ali Dawa. This man is not qualified to speak on matters of Islam and the Quran because he doesn't know Arabic. And they should go even further than that. This sheikh, let's pull him up right here. One moment. Let's get an image of him. Right here, this guy. Sheikh, he should put out a formal fatwa against anybody who is a non-native Arabic speaker to give any opinions on the Quran because they're not. That means no Pakistanis, that means no Indonesians, that means no Malaysians. They should say, you guys shouldn't do any dawah. Only the people who speak Arabic should be speaking about the Quran. We have the qualifications, you don't. If he's honest, he's going to put a formal fatwa against these people. But he's not going to do that. You know why? Because the majority of his followers are non-Arabs. Because the majority of Sunnis and Hadithans in the world are non-Arabs. The biggest Hadithan populations of the world are in Indonesia, in Pakistan, in Malaysia, in India, and they don't want to alienate the money and the attention and the approbation and love that comes from these followers. So he's not going to come out and say you're not qualified to speak on the Quran if you don't understand Arabic. But he'll use that very same argument against, oddly enough, an actual Arab. So this is dishonest, and God bears witness to that. And I notice with these people, they always treat Arabic as if it's some mythical thing. Like, you can never know enough Arabic to them. You can never. It's always this thing that's unattainable. I remember the Mushrik Lantern, he said it to MFG, oh, you don't know Arabic. When he's speaking, again, to somebody who speaks fluent Arabic, this guy is saying as well, you don't know Arabic. It's always this mythical, unattainable thing. They try to paint this obscurantist lens over Quranic Arabic like it's something so far out. No, it's a simple, easy to understand language that anybody can learn and read for themselves. So I can tell, ladies and gentlemen, but by the way this man is reacting, this man has never ever been questioned in his entire life. For those who don't come from a Hadithan background, it is a very homogenized way of thinking. They don't have a Western mentality in terms of like debate and free dialogue and free thinking. And really these guys like Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab, they're trying to fill that gap in the market in the West. They're trying to give quote unquote Islam or Sunnism an intellectual basis in the West. But these people, they don't get questioned in the East. They have unquestioned authority and love and approbation and respect. And just the fact that this man right here dares question this man's authority, you can see he is deeply, deeply offended by it. His arrogance is through the roof. Just look at his face, his facial reactions. Look at this. Right here.
الأميين رسولا منهم يعني ماذا؟
الأميين are the people who what? Can't read and write? Or the Gentiles?
Look at this guy.
No, that can what Gentiles? Are we talking here about are we Banu Israel to tell me Gentiles?
لا أهل الكتاب right? These are the people who have been given the knowledge. وبعد عندك
هو
الأميين.
الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم
Correct.
آياته ويعلم الكتاب.
The Gentile prophet.
Look,
بس
الأميين. Who's the أميين?
الذين لم يأتيهم كتاب. The people who did not get a book from God. الأميين, the Gentiles.
الله أكبر. الأميين. There is no. I dare you to bring me one commentator.
Easy.
One commentator.
How dare you question me? This has never happened in my life. That's the look on his face. This the pure arrogance and pompousness. How dare you? Most people take me as Lord. They take my words as unquestionable authority. How dare you stand up to my knowledge, to my ilm? And you know, this man, he has his reward. His arrogance is, I rarely see men this arrogant. You know, these people, they're even worse and ruder to Qur'anists, to people who believe in the Qur'an alone, God alone. They're ruder and, I should say, more angry and volatile with them than they even are with the atheists who deny God altogether. And I even remember Muhammad Hijab in his debate with the Quran aloners in Speaker's Corner. He said, what was it? That to the Quran aloners, people who believe in God alone, he said that even an atheist is more bloody Muslim than you. So imagine that. Denying God Almighty outright is worse to them than denying Bukhari. Denying God, my mistake, Denying God to them is better and not as grave of a sin as denying Bukhari. Denying Bukhari makes you even worse than the atheist who denies God. That's incredible. And you can see the way they this type of discussion. It's not an actual discussion. They don't set it up like a dialogue. They set it up like an interrogation. And it's framed in this way. Like, okay, I'm going to try to understand where you come from. You're going to try to understand where I come from. I'm going to try to answer your points. You're going to try to answer my points. No, it's almost like this sheikh right here and Ali Dawa, the two of them. Let's get them together right here. Sheikh and Ali Dawa, they're kind of like the judges. They're the let me pull up an image right here. Overweight. Right? They're like the fat king sitting on the stool right there, and you know, you're supposed to bring them all the food that you possibly can on a silver platter, and that's kind of how they're treating the arguments. So it's just like, you know, MFG is supposed to bring them all the arguments on a silver platter. This every explanation, Hajj, and how do you do this and how do you do that, and explain the Qibla and explain how the Quran came to us today, to the way it is today. How did it get into our hands? And basically, they're the fat kings sitting there ready to say, nope, not good enough for me, not good enough for me. They've set themselves up as the judge and the arbiter, waiting for you to present on a silver platter your arguments for them to decide whether it's enough for their Royal Highness rear end or not. And that's not an honest way to have a discussion. Not at all. It's an interrogation, not an exchange of ideas. And, you know, it's easy. It's easy to say that you won the debate when only you were the ones who were allowed to give your arguments. Just like it's very easy for me to say, baseball as an example. Who's the best baseball player in the world? I don't even know anything about baseball, but who is the best baseball player in the world right now? Okay, let's say Shohei Ohtani. I've never heard of this guy in my life. Shohei Ohtani. Okay, it's very easy for me to say, or me to beat Shohei Ohtani in a game of baseball if I'm the only person who's allowed to bat. I can say I beat him. I can beat him in a game where I'm only allowed to bat. But as soon as he's allowed to bat, then he's going to smoke me. It's the same thing here. It's very easy to say you won an argument in a debate with somebody where only you were allowed to give your arguments and cross-examine and question him. You never ever let him get into his arguments as to why he believes in the Quran alone. You just badgered and interrogated. Why didn't you flip the seat? Why don't you let him ask his questions to you and see how you fare in the hot seat? You're putting him on the hot seat. Why don't you guys sit in the hot seat for a moment? But they're never going to do that. And all I have to ask...
No, Sheikh.
Oops. All I have to... Keep hitting play by accident. What I was going to say is, all I have to ask these guys is, why don't they ever do any moderated? Why do they always have to be like approached by Quranists or have Quranists call in Quran alone believers? Like, why do they do this thing where they only allow conversations when they're allowed to dictate and talk over you? Why don't you set up online or in person? You can do it with MFG, you can do it with Baba Shoaib, you can do it with me. A moderated debate where you're allowed to make all your points and I'm allowed to make all my points, and we're both allowed to cross-examine each other and not talk over one another. Why don't you allow that? But you're never going to, because you know that that right there will be the end of your religion. It'll be over for you in your grift. And, it's like, all you have to ask is this kind of dictating of the conversation, this lying, these psychological tactics, this kind of saying of, now I'm confident to debate Quran alone, is like mocking MFG and then lying in the way that they're doing. Why do these people have to really behave in this way? If they're truly confident and secure in their position that the Quran necessarily forces us to follow their hadith, why do they have to behave in this manner, in such a sly and double-handed manner? Because they're not confident. They're just putting on a show, a performance for the camera, and God bears witness to all of it. And, they don't even let us get into arguments. Why don't you let us get into chapter 45, verse 6 in the Quran, where God says, in what hadith after Allah and His ayahs will you believe in? And if you guys are honest, you're going to say, oh yeah, Allah, I actually have this other hadith I believe in, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. Why don't you let us get into that? Why don't you ever get into all the verses let us get into all the verses in the Quran that talk about its completeness, its preservedness, how God says, is it not sufficient for them that we set out the book completed and detailed? And you guys don't believe that. It's actually, genuinely speaking, it's not sufficient for you. But God asks, is it not sufficient for them? Why don't you let us get into those arguments? Why don't you ever let us get into those arguments of why the hadith is not even explicitly mentioned once in the Quran? Imagine this. Your hadith, you guys believe, is necessary in Islam. The Quran does not have enough information. Our religion is incomplete. The Quran is necessarily reliant upon this hadith. Is it not interesting that your hadith, which the Quran and our religion is dependent upon, is not explicitly mentioned in the Quran? Yeah, you can point to Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul, but I'm talking about what it is today. The hadith is a set of books outside of the Holy Quran, Sahih al-Bukhari, and there is no mention of any other text outside of the Quran that the believers are to refer to for legislation and religious matters. Is that not interesting that we need this stuff for our faith, but it's not explicitly referred to in the Quran? Why don't you let us get into those things as well? But of course you never will. And, nothing is mentioned at all about isnad, chains of narration, which I guess is an isnad, the Bukhari, the compilers, the grading system of Sahih and Hasan and Da'if, or which hadith even do we mean? Even if we accept Atiullah and Atiur Rasul, if that means follow hadith, which hadith do we mean? Do we mean Hasan hadith? Do we mean Da'if hadith? Do we mean Sahih hadith? Do we mean Sunni hadith? Do we mean Shia hadith? There's not a single thing mentioned in the Holy Quran explicitly about your extra body of texts, because that's what you're talking about. You're not talking about following the messenger, a living, breathing, flesh and blood man. You're talking about following a separate body of text that this isn't explicitly mentioned in the Quran. Is that not interesting? These people will never deal with that question. Because I personally believe that God, if He really needed us to follow this stuff, He would have mentioned it clearly. I mean, God mentions the Injil, God mentions the Tawrat, God mentions the Zabur. God is not shy to mention other texts out there. So why would He not mention the Hadith, especially if the Quran is reliant upon it? And the other question I want to pose to these men is, what would the Quran need to say in order for them to finally admit that the hadith is not native and indigenous to it, that the hadith is a later thing that the Quran itself does not anticipate or rely upon? What would the Quran need to say? It already says it's complete. It already says it's clear. It already says that we need to, that it is the only hadith we need to follow, or at least it asks us in what hadith after the God and His verses will we believe. God tells us it's the best hadith. What would the Quran need to say in order for you to finally admit the Quran alone position is natural and normal and organic to the Quran? And I would say that there's nothing the Quran could say to convince these people because they're beyond reasoning. They're deaf, dumb, and blind, as MFG pointed out. And I've made it crystal clear what I would need to see in order to believe in the hadith. All you need to do is show me anything in the Quran that explicitly points to another separate body of books or literature akin to your hadith that I have to follow. If you were able to point to anything like that in the Quran, then I would gladly accept the hadith and say that this is part of my scripture. But since it's not, there's no such verse like that in the Quran, I have no other choice but to conclude it's a later invention which has usurped the Quranic message rather than flowed naturally out of it. And, all this kind of questioning and interrogation of how do you do this, how do you do that, how do you pray, how do you find the Qibla, that's all aside from the point. The point is not, can a Quran aloner answer every last little question you have about the Quran? Because there's many things we don't know. We agree on some things, we disagree on some things. Some people might think Qibla means one thing, some people might think Qibla means another thing. Just like you have different schools of thought, you have different madhabs, you have Sunni, you have Shia. Just because you people accept hadith doesn't mean your beliefs are homogenized. You have different beliefs all throughout the board. The point is not, can we answer every last little trivia question you bring up? There's some things we have to say, Allahu Alam. God knows best. I have my thoughts, other people have those thoughts, but we leave the matter with God, whether we really have the truth or not. But the question you really need to ask is, again, it's not, is this one single man, this single Quran aloner right here, able to answer every last little question that we ask him? But rather, the question you need to ask is, can I show, using Quranic evidence, that this hadith is native to the Quran? And they can never do that. They never will. So, again, the question should be about proving nativity within the Quran, not answering every last little trivia question about unrelated verses in the Quran. Prove nativity of the hadith, and they will not. So, all I can say is, if these people, they're going to issue these kinds of takfir against us and call us kafir and this and that, I pray woes and curses and misery upon all of them. And Lord willing, I can't wait to see the day where their religion crashes down and these people, they'll be in a bad state in this life, but even worse in the hereafter. And I look forward to that sweet day, relishing their pain and suffering. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's really all I got to say on the matter. I hope this talk was a blessing. And yeah, peace to you. Remember, deceit abounds, so keep your eyes wide open. Peace out.